Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Coffee with Craig. We very much appreciate you all tuning in. We appreciate you subscribing to our YouTube channel, liking our Facebook page so that you can follow the conversation. Please make it a point to like and share this video feed so that your friends can join into the conversation. Now, this is we realized that yesterday was Election Day, and we're still kind of going through all of the results, and so that we can give you kind of an informed blow by blow of the elections that just took place and make sure that you guys have all the information that you need going forward to know exactly how these elections are going to affect our right to keep and bear arms. But I'd like to make sure that that's informed, so we'll be having that discussion in the next day or so. So just wanted to let you know, no, I did not forget that the election was yesterday, but, you know, once again, we want to make sure that whatever we're providing for you in this discussion is relevant and informed and entertaining. So it takes a little bit of time to do that. So thank you for your patience. Today, though, we are still going to talk a little bit about elections, and we're going to do, we're going to talk a little bit about it. But before we do that, I want to remind you guys, fpcgear.com, fpcgear.com. The shop is open. Very cool place to go and buy T-shirts that are available in order to help promote the Second Amendment, in order to help promote the right to keep and bear arms, but also not just promote it, but know that the money that you spend there is also going right back into the fight. We've added a couple of new T-shirt designs. We have Keep Calm and Sue, because as we know, fortunately, legislators don't and politicians don't always listen to us, but we find we have a little bit more success when we wind up going to court. So that's a good one, as well as we have our Step on Snake, then Due Process. Very cool T-shirts, along with a bunch of other designs, including our Gadsden flag, ladies and men's. Tons of cool stuff, various different sizes, all available there for you at fpcgear.com. Now, moving right along. You know, we're in a day and age of politics where, how shall we say, where people in particular who are anti-gun, they have absolutely no problem saying or doing or including or the shamelessness with which they will push an agenda, and they will utilize, in this case in particular, in which they will utilize even children to push and promote an agenda is, in my opinion, beyond sad. And one of the things that has come to light recently is the fact that NBC News was reporting that a number of Democrats are actually hiring teenagers from the quote-unquote March for Our Lives movement to work in their various different offices in order to promote gun control. And the interesting thing about it is when you really look at kind of how these kids are interacting with people and how they are engaging with people, and what's the word I'm looking for? Well, let's take a look at the style with which they choose to engage people on the issue of gun control. Check them out right here.
More attention. It's disgusting. It's almost like they're using Chicago and these different places as case examples, and they don't want to do anything there because they want to be able to point to that and be like, look, gun control doesn't work. And the reason it doesn't work is because it's not at a federal level. Places like Chicago get their guns from different states. In D.C., when I was talking to Zion Kelly, whose brother Zaire was killed a couple of months ago, he spoke at the march too. The gun that killed his brother came from a different state. D.C. has strict gun laws as well, but if we don't have this at a federal level to address this through the Supremacy Clause, we're never going to be able to address this at a national level, and we're never going to be able to fix it. We need to start looking at this in multiple ways. There's a school safety aspect, there's a discrimination aspect, and there's also just...
It's just cheaper to take away the guns that aren't imperative.
It costs billions of dollars
living in America.
Yeah. Like
you don't need an AR-15 to protect yourself in bed from a robber at night. You don't need an AR-15 to have fun at a shooting range. Go join the army if you want to have fun shooting off a weapon and serve your fucking country. Excuse my language.
But yeah,
I think they're okay.
In Chicago, you really don't hear about it. We don't have school shootings. We have daily shootings.
Right.
And it's And like you said, we need the gun laws on the federal level, because in Chicago we have some of the strictest gun laws. But what does that mean when you can go literally to your next door neighbor, Indiana, and go to Chuck's and get one, and be back in Chicago in less than 30 minutes to fire it off? I mean, so
I'd like to pivot out.
All right, so let's just talk about this for just a few points. So number one, the crassness with which they choose to communicate is, I guess that's supposed to help them to be the anti-Donald Trump, and the fact that they feel like it's just appropriate. I mean, keep in mind, this is something that's put on by ed writers. So these are supposed to be people who are in education, talking and writing about education, and here they are. They've got a bunch of people up here talking about a policy issue area about which they have no understanding. No real understanding. So, for example, the thing was brought up. Well, in Chicago, we don't have school shootings. We have daily shootings, and it doesn't really matter if we have strict gun laws here because people can go right over to their neighbor in Indiana and get guns. But what they fail to understand is you can't just go next door to the next state and buy a gun. Not legally. So they're illegally purchasing firearms. So what is the point of more federal gun laws if the people who are buying the guns are already breaking federal gun laws? The other issue that I have with this is, let's even talk about from a narrower perspective. Let's just say that you could do that. Let's say that you could. I'm not saying you can, but let's say that you could. If access to firearms, if the main precursor to gun violence or violence is access to firearms, then why aren't people shooting each other up in Indiana? Why don't we have huge incidents of gun violence in Indiana? The problem is that it's not a gun issue. It's a violence issue. And violence is a people issue. And they don't want to deal with the people issue. They don't want to talk about the fact that maybe there's some issues with the people in Chicago. Just maybe. Maybe you need to look at what are the issues that are going on that are causing people to feel like they need to go anywhere and get a gun in order to be able to institute violence. Now, then you have Miss Emma Gonzalez, who talks about, well, you don't need this and you don't need that. Well, I'm sorry, Miss Emma Gonzalez. What exactly do you know about what I need? Are you a home safety expert? Are you a firearms expert? You say go in the Army and serve your country? So in other words, you're saying that if someone has the penchant, if someone has the desire to shoot an AR, well, then they should just go join the Army. First of all, we don't issue AR-15s to the military, you dumbass. Yes, no, we don't. You don't get AR-15s in the military. So let's deal with that. Let's also not talk about what firearms you think. You don't know what firearm is good to protect yourself in your bed if someone should break into your house. What makes you qualified to have that conversation? And then you've got Mr. Hogg. Now, Mr. Hogg is a particular type of douchebag, because what the media has done is they've emboldened him. They've emboldened him to think that he can say and do whatever he wants, talk however he wants to people. And here's just an example of the sort of leadership that they want to have in Washington, D.C. Now, I want you to mind you. Now, this is from Representative Crowley, who's looking to hire one of these folks. Representative Crowley said that they will have opportunities to interact with people who don't agree with them, Representative Crowley said. I think they will learn from the experience. Even folks who don't agree with them will hopefully learn from them being here and vice versa. So let's take a look at what someone can expect from an interaction with Mr. David Hogg.
Pathetic that want to keep killing our children. They could have blood from children spattered all over their faces and they wouldn't take action because they'll still see those dollar signs.
Like, do you guys ever think, like, why the are we the ones who are doing this?
Well, at this point, it's like when your old ass parents, like, I don't know how to send an iMessage, and you're just like, give me phone and you take it and you're like, okay, let me handle it, and you get it done in 1 second. Sadly, that's what we have to do with our government because our parents don't know how to use democracy, so we have to. It just makes me think what sick are out there that want to continue to sell more guns, murder more children, and honestly just get reelected. What type of person are you when you want to see more money than children's lives? What type of person does that?
Yeah, I am quite sure that that is going to make for a very, very positive interaction when you have a little dirtbag like this young man who can't even get through a sentence without calling someone with whom he disagrees a name, without cussing them out, without dropping an F-bomb. He seems to think that that's the way in which you engage in these discussions. I would love to participate in a discussion or a debate with Mr. Hogg because, see, I can be equally as aggressive. I can be, if need be, equally as foul-mouthed, but I don't think that is necessary. I think one only needs to point out the ignorance with which he speaks. But see, the left doesn't care about knowledge or understanding. I repeatedly deal with, in legislature after legislature, with politicians who don't know what they're talking about and speak with ignorance. They spew ignorance from their mouths every word they say. And then if you dare to disagree with them, the only response they have is an emotional, profanity-laced tirade to call you names, right? And then who are they talking about? What did he say about his parents? You see how he talks to his parents? Give me your effing phone. They can't effing get me. This is how Mr. Hogg probably talks to his parents. At least that's how he says he talks to his parents. So now this individual is going to be interacting with constituents all across the country. And this is how he is going to engage with them. This is what they value. This is what the left values. This is what they see as positive engagement. And we wonder where an Antifa movement comes from. We wonder where a Black Lives Matter movement comes from. These movements these people who are out there who feel like they can cuss people out, they can inflict violence upon people with whom they disagree, people who think that you can go after and beat up with sticks and stones and bats people with whom you disagree because, well, hey, we believe we're right. Folks, I have to tell you, the anti-gun left is really at a crossroads here. And they've got to make up their minds. Do they want to be the grown-up? Do they want to try and interact and engage as grown-ups? Or do they want to disintegrate into out-of-control children in the political discussion, in this case talking about guns? And because they feel like they have the moral high ground. I say feel like they have the moral high ground. They feel like it justifies anything that they say or do. And that is where they stand now. And that is the direction that they are heading. Now, I'm not saying that's all of them because there are a number of them who, while I may disagree with them, are still interested in having an engaged discussion as grown-ups. But they are a shrinking minority in the Democratic Party. And if they continue to give way to the David Hoggs of the world, to the Antifas and the Black Lives Matters of the world, they're going to see their party slip into oblivion. And they're going to be limited to the left, the left coast and the Northeast in order to be able to, which is funny because all of these folks who are hiring these people, that's where they're all coming from. They're all people who are in their own left-wing, out-of-connect, anti-civil rights bubbles, where they believe they are smarter than the rest of the world. What they don't know is the rest of the world is paying attention to them, and they're projecting this crap out into the Twitter sphere, into the internet, onto YouTube, and all of that. And we are paying attention to it. And in the end, people are going to just say no. Anyway, folks, that's going to be it for today's Coffee with Craig. I thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please remember to like and share these videos. Join the Firearms Policy Coalition at joinfpc.org. Become a part of the fight for our civil rights. Remember, we got to use them or we're going to lose them. You guys take care.
If you like our videos, follow, subscribe, like, and share.